Call the meeting to order. First off, we have any time for any public comments of anything that's not included on tonight's agenda? Seeing none. Welcome everyone to tonight's meeting.
Number 4.
Well, we always had approval of the agenda. Don't we have that at this meeting? I get this over. So since we aren't gonna approve the agenda, we're gonna change the agenda. And move item number 8 between number 4 and number 5. So since nobody wanted to approve the agenda, I'm gonna change it, so. So we will then go on, no mayor's comments tonight. So we will start with the facade improvement grant application for the Charles Theater. Michael's here to represent the theater. Tell us what's up. Well, maybe introduce yourself.
I'm Michael Lauer. I live on 3rd Avenue. I'm here on behalf of the board of directors of the nonprofit operating the Charles Theater. We're asking the council for approval of a Main Street Charles City facade improvement grant in the amount of $10,000, and I have some background. The 1935 Art Deco terracotta facade at 401 North Main needs some repairs. Some of the tiles capping the parapet are broken, and the coating on the backside of the parapet has failed, allowing water infiltration. There's also spalling of the tiles on the face of the facade. The board is working with T Tuck Pointing from Stockton, Iowa. The project has been divided into 4 parts. The $76,000 listed in the application focuses on the parapet by removing the deteriorated coating and bricks and rebuilding it to include a new through wall flashing. Other work includes spot tuck pointing, seal replacement at building joints, repair. The last involves using Control matrix repair mortars to inject and restore the shape of the damaged tiles in the 2 to 3 reglazing process to match the historic color and sheen of the damaged areas and the spalls. The estimate for the total project is 4 weeks to complete and more than $188,000. We were planning on starting this fall, but now work should begin this in the spring. In the meantime, we're talking to Randall Construction of Osage to have them install a temporary rubber membrane over the top of the parapet for the winter. This is to stop the water leaks while we negotiate with the Art Center, who owns the building, and line up additional funding sources to complete the whole restoration project. Thank you for your time and consideration. Do you have any questions?
Are you looking at other grants right now?
Yes. We've applied for a couple, the Floyd County Community Foundation, one of the bank foundations. We're talking about doing a community fundraiser. And we have some investments that will fund for a portion of the project.
Okay. I know the applications for the First Citizens and the Community Foundation, you guys have put your packages in for them too. Okay. Good.
Michael, you mentioned it's 188,000 total, but on the application it says estimated cost of project 76,240.
We split out a portion of it that we could complete ahead and get because the grant is 35% up front, and the remainder when you complete the project.
Okay.
The whole project, we wanted to get funds before we had to do the whole thing.
Okay, you just kind of split it into manageable pieces.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to make sure I was follow up.
I asked them to downsize the scope of it for that reason. So
Okay,
they wouldn't have to wait till the entire thing was done before they could get it.
sure, that's fine. Thank you.
There's a lead time for the color matching for the glazing process and
So is the project all approved through, that's on the National Historic Register?
it's not.
Oh, it's not. I was thinking it was, sorry. Is that how I said it? Yeah, for
People have talked about listing it, but that's a process. and-
It's a process and sometimes it's better off not being there if you wanna do something to it. Thank you.
Have you guys talked to the art center about?
We had a joint meeting, 3 weeks ago, maybe. To talk about it. This is a big expense. They don't have the funds to help us pay for it, and we like to, it's not our building, but we like to have something to show for the money we've invested in the property.
How'd you select TNT Tuck Point?
I was at the Preserve Iowa Summit in June as part of the Historic Preservation Commission. And I was talking to a historic preservation consultant, and she talked to some of her contacts and they recommended this company. Randall Construction out of Osage would like to do the project, but they're too busy.
Any other questions for Michael?
I'm in favor of this and I appreciate the good work that the board is doing, especially thinking outside the box with the theater and promoting it, getting music in there and taking it to another level. So thank you to the board for all the good work with that.
Our next concert is December 12th. Caitlin Saws is coming back and she'll be doing some of her own work, some covers and some Christmas music. Wednesday, December 10th.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you, Michael. So it'll be on our agenda then for Monday night, I'm assuming, or, yeah, Monday. All right. Then we're gonna move down to item number 8, the service line termination agreement with Young Construction. Don, you wanna lead into this?
Sure, and what this is, if you recall, the council just approved one of these agreements for the demolition of 1104 Freeman Street. Anyway, Young Construction, TD Young Rentals, they have purchased the former Heartwood Inn. The Heartwood Inn was it's a B3 zoning district, and that doesn't allow for long-term rentals, so they can through a conditional use permit. They did earlier go through the conditional use permit process and they've been granted that Board of Adjustment. So the rentals will be the west side of Glenwood. Those two buildings will be converted into apartments. The easterly, what I call the easterly building, and they've determined that cannot be used, and they're actually in the process of demolishing it. But what they want to do is be able to reuse those service lines if they can. They have, they've had it looked at. Those the service lines are in good shape. They can be salvaged and reused. But because of our code, whenever service lines are abandoned, they have to be terminated at the main. But we have this agreement, and they're requesting that the agreement is approved as a 2-year, 24-month extension in time, where that gives them some time to review, plan, and construct to be able to reuse these service lines rather than just take them out right now. Now, Amber with Young Construction, she is on the meeting, so she could answer any questions in more detail.
This is very similar to what we just did over on Freeman Street.
Yeah, it's the same agreement, just basically, the description and the address has changed, but it's the same one that Brad prepared for 1104, and the same time frame to 2 years.
To me, I always think this is a good deal.
Yeah,
We don't really get hurt and, gives people a little chance to do something else with it. But as long as if they don't build, that they take care of the issue down the road. I don't think it's a bad thing, at least initially.
I'm excited to see the progress that Young Construction Young Reynolds LLC is making out there. And as far as I can tell, I mean, they're meeting with what, they're doing what they said they would do. And, yeah, we got a long ways to go, but, I'm excited to see the progress out there. I was curious to see if Amber had any additional comments on what John briefed us.
I don't have any additional comments. I just know that we, like he said, we had all the lines checked out and everything looks to be in good shape. And that was sent on, the report was sent on to John, so, there isn't any concerns there or anything.
All right, any other questions?
So this will be on Monday's agenda.
Very good. Thank you, Amber.
Thanks for having me.
Next up, we got Tyler coming up next with the storage shed at Wildwood Golf Course. The update of what he didn't know and what he now knows and fill us in, Tyler.
Yep, so it doesn't say it exactly 100, but footings are included on this quote. So the price did not change. So that is what I found out. So, yeah, so I tried calling them last Monday, they were busy, they didn't answer, I didn't get a hold of them until Tuesday morning last week, so. So yeah, so it's the exact same price.
Good to know.
Yeah, glad to know for sure.
Good solution, Tyler.
Yeah, it's real easy for you.
So this will come up on Monday then again for approval then.
Yep, so do you need Joel here? Cause I'll be on vacation. Joel said he can come if you guys want him here.
No, I feel like, I mean, we've ended up talking about it. This is like the third time, so I feel okay.
Okay,
without, yeah.
if something changes, let me know and I'll have Joel come, so.
So will this be still this year or spring project?
They're gonna try this year, we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, depends how quick weather turns.
All right.
Yeah, no problem. All right, thank you.
Have a good night.
Corey's next now. We've got a couple items for you, Corey. You're gonna start off with the galvanized service line replacements. Lead galvanized.
So, Russell with SDH here for, some reference to, but, so last year, October 2024, the lead and copper rule improvement law was signed into effect. So this requires, the action level be dropped from 15 parts per billion to 10 parts per billion for all samples. We sample 20 residents every 4 years as required by the EPA and the DNR. We've historically been well below this action level. Our highest in the last 15 years was 6.2 parts per billion, so a little less than half. But it also requires 100% mandatory replacement of every lead service line or galvanized service line that is or ever was downstream of a lead gooseneck or service line. But we can't prove that it was never downstream of the lead service line. It needs to be replaced within the next 10 years. So it doesn't necessarily say that the city has to pay for it or the residents or whatever. But just at this point, working with SEH for the well project. And after this last conference I was at, I kind of realized that, we could still jump on this basic IUP for next fiscal year and see if we can get some funds lined up. I guess we have quite a few questions for council, on how we want to handle this. But I think at this point, we can work with SEH and use some of the information from our last IUP, kind of roll that into this, save some funds and maybe get on the list and get some money locked up for funding at least.
How many lines do we have for it?
So we have 3,500 right now, 3,550 total services. We have about 788 GRRs, galvanized farm replacement, 10 confirmed lead lines, and we have about 480 unknown. So we've been just taking records, getting pictures as we change out meters over the last 6 years. I mean, we knew something was coming down after Flint, Michigan. I mean, nothing to this extreme, but so like I said, over the last 6 years, we've been doing work orders, logging all of our service lines coming in as we change meters out and stuff like that, so. The city code does say that the property owners own the service line from the water main to the water meter. The city does not own any of it. I've talked to Dubuque, Creston, Webster City is another one that's applied for this. And they are just kind of doing a chunk at a time, applying for so much money. And the way they're handling it is the city's paying for it. So I guess Russ can kind of touch on this, but with this BIL funding and stuff, it is 49% loan forgiveness and 0% interest for life loans, so. Like I said, I think there's gonna be a lot more questions than I have answers tonight, but
The loan forgiveness, how does that work? Is it like a certain period of time, they gotta maintain ownership of the property or something? How does that work? You know,
It works through the SRF process, similar to how we had done the last one when. Well, it started here new, but the rest of you were here, so once we closed out the actual Clearwell project, the loan forgiveness was done on the backside, you were re-amortize either loan with SRF and then it takes time.
okay, so you're talking about the loan forgiveness for city, not the individual property.
Correct,
So there's no cost to the property owners then to have this done?
well, that, I guess, go ahead.
Yeah, so we've been working, so when Corey brought it up, I'm sorry, we should have just did this last time when we were all together, but. Our expert that's been working on this stuff on St. Paul, South St. Paul's kind of the first project we've done with this, and they actually coupled it with some PFA money and some other things within the state of Minnesota, so it didn't cost the city any money. So it's a little different in Iowa, the fact that we don't have the extra loan, or I guess it's not loan forgiveness, the other grant dollars to go with it, it's just the loan forgiveness from the federal level coming through the SRF program. But for that, it has to be privately held service line by the property owner, so that way you can actually get the loan forgiveness. Now, every city like Webster City and some of the other ones, they're doing it differently, and some have been assessing, some have been doing special rebate systems. Can't even think of the other ways. There's just different avenues, so that's part of the question. So Corey and I had a lot of discussion on how do we do this, how do you want to move forward, and I think it comes to you folks. How do you want to do that?
So do we take that loan out and pay for it and then try to recoup some of that through assessing the taxes, or do we just? Like I said, I mean, this is a huge project. I mean, so 788 lines, sorry, I mean, 10, 15, $20,000 a line, depending on.
Obviously, we're not gonna do this in one fell swoop. Unless we'd have every road in town dug up. But it would be helpful for me and maybe for my fellow council members, so. If we could have some sort of diagram that shows where all of these galvanized or the actual lead pipes are. And I was doing some reading up on this, so. We could also qualify under the drinking water state revolving fund, correct?
That's what this is.
That's what this is.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's-
so it goes through the DNR and the Iowa Finance Authority and all of that, okay. And I read up where a lot of cities are doing the rebates. They're all, I think they passed where there's no tax on this if the property owner does, I think that was passed in 2022 or something like that, but. It would be helpful to know, or at least have some discussion way forward on a plan. Which ones would be done first, you know, where does it make sense, you know? We're just saying, okay, we're gonna start ripping up this street, right, you know, this water line, this would be good to kind of have a plan.
I agree with what you're saying, but I think we need to figure out how this thing's gonna work. I
Sure.
mean, if we're gonna get grant money. If there's, you know, absolutely no cost to the city. Then I don't know if you wanna pass that on to the homeowner, but normally. I would think we'd have some kind of cost going to that homeowner to,
Correct.
you know, in some kind of a plan. I mean, to me, that's the ultimate issue to start the thing. Then you're gonna get into what you're talking about, but I think we need to formulate how we're gonna handle it. Money wise first.
Similar to the last conversation with the last planning session is we don't know how much this is gonna morph or what's gonna change with the next project. I mean, we're talking billions of dollars nationwide on what this is. And then how much money are they can continue to put into that pot? So what Corey and I discussed is what's a sizable project of what's realistic that you guys can tell folks like, hey, this is what we're gonna try to do to start. And then move forward with, maybe there's a phase 2, 3, 6, 8, I don't know how many phases it would be. The Webster City one, I think theirs is right at that $1 million mark. They have roughly 70 lead lines that they're trying to take out with this first one. They're not actually touching all the galvanized, I guess. But you do have known lead lines in town, which is troublesome, so you wanna take care of them, obviously. But is it, you wanna do 100 lines and then we try to pick based on what Corey comes up with, because he's done a really good job on the assessment part of you're gonna do specific areas within the system, try to address this quarter of town or this section of town.
We probably don't have any way of knowing what age the lines are. I'm assuming they were all done relatively same period.
And that is all on the city website, the lead and copper, you can see a map, so all the orange dots, the keys there too, all the orange dots are galvanized. And there is no rhyme or reason, and there might be 3 houses copper and galvanized next to it, you know, you'd assume that they're all built around the same time, but a lot of them, obviously, when we've done street projects over the years, we've replaced from the main to the curb stop. But if it's still galvanized going into the house, that line still needs to be replaced. So just off the top of my head, I mean, since I've been here, I can count maybe 90 houses that would need to be replaced from the main or from the curb stop in. So, I mean, they're saving some money, but I think that someone's work on SCH kind of come up with a rhyme or reason where to start, and so I guess kind of like with the well, I think the thing is to move, if we can move forward with this and get on the IUP and lock in how much we want to apply for, and then I guess go from there. Like I said, I think there's gonna be a lot more conversations after this one, so.
I would think you're probably right, though. You mentioned, you know, $10,000-$20,000 a pop to do it. That's probably pretty good. And it really won't matter if it's lead or galvanized. I mean, you're still gonna be digging it up, replacing lines, so. You know, that part of the cost is gonna be, I would think, relatively the same no matter what it is, but I agree with you, probably the lead one should be the first ones out of the way, and then, you know, if you get $1 million, well, you do the lead ones first and go as many.
If we did, I mean, we did put 100,000 in the budget this year to do, I mean, just to throw a number out, I mean, that we start working on some, but.
Well, it'd be about 5.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean,
The
it's
shuttle
hard.
dart, but yeah,
Yeah.
like I said, I mean, I think a lot of cities right now are just waiting. I mean, I think hoping that something changes and this doesn't go through, but.
Yeah, I mean,
This is not my mentality, I guess. I don't wanna sit here in 6 years and now we're trying to do it in 4 instead of
Right.
10.
right, I would agree, and I mean, we know those lead lines for sure need to get gone. I think we need to find a path forward that's gonna, reduce that cost burden for both, you know, city and residential. That's, you can't go up to people and say, there's nothing,
Yeah.
this line functions, but you're gonna either replace the whole thing, so we've gotta figure something out. That's gonna minimize that all around as much as possible, so.
And I would expect a little kickback too, of people who have had to replace theirs or had leaks and had to replace theirs over the years. While Rustin getting his for free and I can pay for mine, I mean, I guess just something for council to be aware of.
So I agree. I mean, I think there has to be some ownership of this whole process with the homeowner. Maybe,
Yeah.
I don't know if you take the whole thing, but there's gotta be some liability on the homeowner as well.
And one spin on that, obviously, is the economy of scale. You're doing this on a larger scale project, so it probably would end up being cheaper for the homeowner doing it as the project side rather than them hiring XYZ or ABC to come in and do this. Because part of the thing that drives these costs so high is, think of it, you're digging in the street, so your pavement replacement. Then you're in your basement, so you have concrete removal and replacement for getting in and out of your basement, and then the actual service line itself, so. It just all adds up substantially, and it depends if you're doing a 30-foot service line or a 300-foot service line, everyone kind of has different variations.
Real quick clarification, you mentioned digging in the street. If this is just from the curb stop in, There shouldn't be a whole lot of street digging, should there?
That's only those 90 that
Okay.
would be from the curb stop in.
Okay,
So the right of way, and the other 680 are gonna be from the street to the
from
house.
the street, okay, so thank you for the clarification, I just wanna make sure it's
I
understood.
think just to clarify farther with that lane is, if you start at your curb stop, you can determine the material either way. So there might be some that we're anticipating a full line replacement, we dig down and it might only be from the curb stop to the street or a curb stop to the house. We don't know.
Okay,
Yeah, that's how my house was when we placed the sewer, we dug it up and it was galvanized coming in, but it was copper out to the street, so. So yeah, we might have some lucky surprises, but.
I actually appreciate having this on the agenda tonight because every city is going to be having to deal with this sooner or later. I mean, if you're unincorporated or you're a town of 100 to a town of 100,000, everybody's gonna deal with it. But I appreciate it being on the agenda tonight, discussion we're having and making progress. And to Delaine's point, though, I think knowing what is out there as far as funds, and as you mentioned, Corey, we're gonna be having a whole lot more conversation on the execution once we know what the funding is, but we get our package in, we're not waiting till the 11th hour and 59th minute. We're already in. What do we get? What can we do with that?
so we answering what you needed to hear, or?
No.
No,
I guess, so again, part of, and I'm sorry to make this belaborsome, but part of what Corinne has discussed here was is what's the number that you feel comfortable going out moving forward with? So back to the project, again, the IUP had to be in by December 1, and that's the pot of money we're trying for. We can wait, but again, with this, the more cities that are out there doing this and actually moving into that motion or forward, it could be changing, and then that limits how much money is left in that pot for you guys to use. So really what Corey and I discussed is this $1 million? Is it 2 million? Is it 500 services? Is it 300 services? What's that number that you feel comfortable moving forward with? And bear in mind, doing the PER and actually getting on the IUP is just the first step. You're not committed to a whole lot of money or effort at that point. It's that next step beyond when you put it in action. So we're just trying to get the ball or wheel in motion and figure out what you're comfortable with so we can move forward.
Does this money, if we granted it, have stipulations of when it needs to be spent by? Do you know?
I've never had anyone not use it
Right.
enough time to get kicked out of it. There has been communities that have been on there for several years, so I think you have.
According to the internet, which is factual 100% of the time, it does say for upgrades for repair and replacement of water. So take it for what it's worth.
so we got roughly 800 total,
But yeah, without the 400 unknowns,
and then,
so there, I mean, we could borrow money to go out and back down to those, or we could just keep chipping away, changing meters out and going that way.
this thing, if we got 400, if you do half of those. Or 800, and you do half of those, would be 400, that'd be about $8 million at 20 grand a throw. So. Is that a number that sounds realistic? I mean, it's no use going for 8 if we're only gonna get 2. So I'm not sure where to go to tell you what we wanna
I
do.
don't think you can look at, well, you live here, I don't. It's really, what do you think you can realistically do to move forward? And you're comfortable telling folks this is why we're doing it and what we're doing for a reason.
So this is a 12-year process, though, right? I mean, you have to have this done in
As
like
of right now.
2037.
As of right now. yes.
Yeah, as of right now. So that's the other part of this, you know, how many times are the requirements gonna change in the next 12 years?
And that's what I think a lot of other cities are waiting to see.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's my other point is, we don't wanna do a whole bunch and then have them come back and say, oh, 5 years into this was costing way too much, here's a budget, the federal government's gonna pay for all of it. We don't know that, obviously. But I think I agree, we want to, you know, set a number to do, but I don't know if we want to set that number too high either.
The other thing is, in my mind, if this is still a new program that's gathering speed, there's gonna be more and more
Oh,
hogs that
sure.
draw
Yeah,
to go after the money, so maybe better off to get in early.
Yeah.
Get as much done as you can. If you have to meter out the rest of it, then, you know, you do that. I don't know. I don't know.
yeah, so if
I would tend to agree with that, because while I like your optimistic approach that if anything changes, it'll be in our favor money wise from the federal government. That just hasn't been my experience. So I tend to agree a little bit, a little bit more with Delane that. Let's get it while it gets
How
good.
many can you theoretically get done in a year's time anyway?
Yeah,
I
that's
think
the
it'll
other
just be the contractor we can get. I mean, nobody local is getting 70 done a year, but
But
So
what's,
our guy said 400 to 500, like South St. Paul's, and they're doing it in phased approach, and they're going up 400 to 500 in a batch. We're trying to do that as a
they have contractors come from Illinois and, I mean, for
and that's what
projects.
you'd be putting the application in off the number we give you now, so say. Maybe 400 probably would be maybe a good number, you think? I don't know, I did aim for in the application IUP.
The bigger issue for me is we don't know how we're gonna spend it yet. We can't ask for 4 and spend 4 and then 2 years down the road say, oh, there's no more money, so the rest of you have to now pay 100%. And I think that it's hard for me to know now without more details, our big plan. I understand the rush. We wanna get in this money, but I was kind of hoping we could bank it in a fund. So in 6 years, when we know what we're gonna do, we've collected the money
No,
or some money.
maybe. So what another thing Corey and I discussed is maybe with this first round is we do the follow up on the final remainder for it, instead of know what you actually have. So maybe you start with the $1 million project. You can always apply again. It's not like they're gonna turn you down. It's what the big thing in my mind, and maybe I'm too paranoid, is how long is this gonna be there? Or is it gonna go to 25% next or 20, or what will that be?
But to Delaine's point, I can see this going, while I could be optimistic like the mayor. And maybe this deadline gets extended far to the right, but eventually you're gonna have another Flint, Michigan scenario go down somewhere more in the Midwest here, but strike while the fire is hot. And we're opening this up, we need to get our numbers in. And whatever we ask for, we may not even get that, we may get a portion of that, but if we ask for something lower, then you're getting a portion of what's lower too. So to me, there's risks on both sides, I'd like to go with a higher number. We have a lot of years to work that out, but I just don't see that large amount of funding staying, even with more and more cities putting their applications in every year. And then now that's gonna take a strain on what available funding is. I'd like to go with a higher number and see what we come out. That's my thought.
To build off what Krista said, because I totally get that too. I'm kind of thinking, well, how do we know how many we can do if we don't know what are we paying versus what are we gonna be
Right.
requesting from the homeowner? But I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, would we have some time, like we request some money, and then we have some time to make a plan for how we wanna structure like the cost between city and resident, and so then we kind of know within this amount of money, we can figure that out and then determine how many we do based on the cost structure we set up. Am I totally off base and thinking that
No,
would work that way?
So one nice thing with the SRF program is they're pretty flexible on what you can do. I mean, they don't want you to spend in for 2 million and then all of a sudden ask for 8, that they don't like that so much, but. If you're asking for 2 million and you wanna go to 2.5 or 6 or something, I mean, they're pretty realistic and they work with people. Okay. Or if you wanna come back down, some you can. I just wanna make sure that everyone's aware, what Corey and I discussed, is it's a lot of money for. Or there, what, 800 of them, it's a lot of money.
I mean, I guess I was thinking, 800 of them at 20 grand to throw is, 16 million. If you try to knock off half of those in the first round of this, like, then you've got another 10 years or so to try to figure out the rest. I don't know how you justify that to people that a certain group gets done right away and the other ones have to wait. I suppose those people would, on their own, could do it if they're not concerned about it, go ahead and do it. And that's where I guess I think there's gotta be some ownership investment in this whole process as well. You know, and so then, how do you set that? How do you do that? Because all of a sudden, if you're gonna say, well, the homeowner has to cover 50% of the cost. Well, now, instead of doing 400, we could maybe do all 800. You know, I mean, so it's a little hard to say what we want to apply for. But I just think at this point, with what we know, I'd rather apply for about half of what we need to do. And at least get started on this process. And then try to figure out, like you said, how you're gonna put the rest of the plan together.
Yeah. How much they're gonna pay, if they're gonna pay, you know,
Right.
cause some people. I mean, we have to think about this, some of the customers may not be able to put anything towards replacement, so. That's why I would lean more towards the city covering all the costs, and then we figure it out from there. Well, you know, what we're in for on the loan.
I would go with a higher, if, you know, and I
Yeah.
agree, that
I
not
agree.
every resident's
Yeah.
gonna be able to afford that, and we have to come up, in the future, come up with some plan how to address that, but I think. To Dwayne's point, I think, you know, some homeowners are gonna have a stake in. And how do you say, how do you figure that, we're not gonna solve that riddle tonight.
And that's what I'm saying, that's why I'm saying, I think the city should just cover all the costs, because you're not gonna be able to solve that, you know,
That's gonna be a hard sell.
exactly. Some
You know, I'm gonna
owners, some
say,
owners,
I'll
oh,
take
you
my
gotta
risk
pay.
with my lines I've got.
Yeah,
And that'll be their attitude, even though they
Exactly.
can't, because it says it has to be replaced, but.
Yeah.
Says, you know, so we all know the problem with lead, what's the problem with the galvanized ones?
So the whole thing is that lead can settle into galvanized, and no matter how long there hasn't been lead upstream, it can still leak out after so many years, so.
There was also a duration that used lead goosenecks to go from the main, so if you had a cast iron main, went from the main over to the galvanized, because it was flexible. And there could actually be flexural movement within the soil, because we all know the ground moves, so that helped.
I guess I'd like to be as magnanimous and say city's gonna cover the whole cost, but when you look at it. 3,500 properties in town and, you've got this many and all the city's gonna come in and cover all the costs to change that. I just don't, for some reason, that just doesn't sit right for me at this point, but
But I think that's a future
that's
discussion.
a future discussion, but I'm just saying, we're hearing now that, that.
So make your points now, Blaine.
Yes. That's what we guys don't give a crap what I say anyway, so I'm just.
I guess another option is you can put a flag on the water bill, like a fee just for that, to collect it over time on everybody's water bill on the entire, everybody's account. Whatever it is,
Yeah.
$5 a month, whatever it pencils out to be to help that would help you create that fund that you could put some money away. You could earmark
I would rather do something like that than have. Homeowner A pays a whole bunch, homeowner B, mine's fine.
Yeah.
But. Neither one had any input onto what their water line was when they bought their house.
Right. Sure.
there's some inequities with that though, because you have new houses that we know don't have any problems and they'd be paying it too.
Yeah.
But
And that's what I was thinking, we're gonna hear that from all of the houses that don't need to be replaced, well, why am I having to pay for this? So.
The hardest sell that I've seen through this whole thing, or heard, I guess I shouldn't say seen, but is. If Corey replaced his last year, you're coming in now this year and doing it for free. He's not gonna be very happy.
Or I'd say too, even if I had a copper line and mine starts leaking and the city's replacing everybody else's, I mean, my responsibility to pay for mine. We're gonna
get it from all directions.
Yeah, I think you just have to pick your path and stay to it.
Yeah.
So-
You're doing it in 2 days.
Wrapping this up, since Brad's not here. We don't have to decide how we're gonna pay for this, for the property owners tonight. We just want to decide what size of a project do we want you guys to apply for.
Correct.
And I think, maybe Delaine's proposal of 420,000 each is 8 million, maybe that's a good starting point. I don't know what, I guess you
realistic with that. This is our project, and maybe phase two is the next one, because to Corey's point too, there's a lot of stuff we're gonna find when we start going through this. Like, instead of 20,000, maybe it's only 8,000, because we're only doing a short stretch of the pipe versus doing the entire thing. So there's a big varying degree of what this could cost.
But if you could do, a town this size, if you could do 50 a year, it's gonna take you 16 years to do all 800 of stuff.
So we're gonna need to move it faster, at a good pace.
Then
You only have 12 years, yeah.
You're gonna be bringing in
Yeah.
other contractors from outside to move faster than that, I would think. 50 is a lot of service lines to do.
My thought is to ask for the cost for 800. That's what you're looking for as a number.
Are you looking for a number tonight, or does this have to be on a council meeting?
So just bear in mind, I just need to write this is a simplified PDR, get the IUP, allow the mayor to sign the IUP, and then submit everything before December 1. Or we wait another quarter, and that's what that's really what's driving this, is Corey and I were having these discussions, and I'm sure it knows.
Because theoretically, we can't make a decision tonight. Can we tell them how much our recommendation is, or does that need to be a council meeting decision rather than a council workshop decision? I don't know the answer to
I
that.
think if say go big, we can figure it out from there.
I think you can. I think you're just telling him how to fill out the application. You're not.
Yeah.
You're not spending any money,
Yeah.
you know, except for his time.
But it is an application. And I would think you'd wanna have something in the minutes where you
Yeah.
acknowledge
And
them.
we're meeting in 4 days, so does that make a difference?
No, we still have time, I'm not worried on that, I just don't wanna be doing this Thanksgiving night.
Yeah.
We're hoping to do this.
Yeah, no, I'm, I'm think I'm fine with going kind of big, because
Yeah.
you're right, there's a lot of variability in how much it's gonna cost, but if we have the money, if we can get the money to do as much as we can in round one, while we know that, like, we have this chance to qualify for up to that 49%, because that's what we aren't sure will stay at that 49% rate, so, yeah, but I'd say, get what we can at that 49% principal forgiveness rate. And just know that, like, as long as we're showing them progress and making plans to move forward, I think that would be the best. So that way, however we plan to defray all that cost among everybody, residents in the city, we can keep it as consistent as possible for as long as possible, because if we have to apply for a second round and it's not 49% principal forgiveness, then how we're dividing that up might suddenly look a little different. So, just for consistency's sake and having that same messaging, I think that this go big in round one, if we can. Kind of what I'm thinking.
Out of that remaining 470, do you have an estimate on what you think that number would be?
I'm just going off the numbers we have seen so far, about 25% would be my guess.
Okay. So yeah, like I said, that's what I would budget for 900 maybe. Just guesstimating those remaining.
900?
That's what I would go for. I mean, why not get the loan right now? And if we don't have to do that, I would assume we could use that, whatever portion of the loan we don't use to do, to make an early payment to get the number down on the remaining amount we have to pay anyway. We have to pay back.
So we'll have a contract with SCH to do the PER and IUP, but can we have that on the agenda for Monday to
Yeah.
approve the
Approve the application.
IUP, so when SCH has that ready, the mayor can sign it when
I think that'd
calls
be
up on
good.
another meeting?
Yeah.
Someone make the motion and then put the 900 in there as well, just so we have that.
We can't make a motion
Can't
or
make a
anything
motion,
like
sorry.
that.
But
No,
you-
no, on Monday.
Oh, on Monday, yeah.
Yes.
I just wanna make sure it's clean, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do that.
Yeah, and I mean, you could have a draft with that in there
That number.
for us, and then that's what we would,
Yeah.
if we could
Yeah.
be part of the agenda.
that was gonna be my next question anyway, it was actually, was there, you know, you think you could have like a draft of that application for us on Monday with that 900 plugged in? Or you
At
think
least,
is that,
at least the
is that-
pertinent parts of
that's,
it.
yeah, or is that too much to ask? I'm just wondering.
You try?
No.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be the
Hey,
whole.
we actually got numbers that we're looking at and whatnot.
I think, I don't know if that's as relevant as, I mean, you will be copied on everything, it's just as long as you're saying the 900, I think that's
Yeah.
sufficient, because the IUP is pretty generic, it's limited description,
Mhm.
and budget and number. And then the mayor signs a couple of documented spots with like your UEI number and some of the other relevant information for the city.
Okay,
And that's, folks get copied on everything that gets submitted to the state level. And we're just waiting until we have the actual application approved. Yeah. See what happens.
so to be clear, is that what we're looking to do Monday is to approve the application, approve the process, starting the
Start the application.
and then I'm assuming you guys will come back to us with the completed application before you submit it.
I guess that's what I would like to get approved Monday if possible, so
Well,
that,
that-
so that when it's ready.
Well, that's why I'm
Yeah.
asking, that's why I asked whether or not
To approve
to
the
have the application.
hire SEH to do it and to,
Approved.
and then you also do it,
Based on.
Yeah.
submit it.
Oh, okay,
Because
Yeah.
there is, so the last, when we brought the well project, that was a lot larger project, so it had a report that went with it. So this is
Yeah.
a smaller simplified PER, so there is some documentation that goes with the application as well. And I just, again, kind of spitball this stuff and we want to get going on, it, so that's why we're here to
Yeah.
discuss. We would just like, again, to hit that meeting for the December 1 deadline.
well, yeah, I understand that, but I was, it'd be kind of hard to approve the application, submitting the application itself before we get a chance to actually see it. So,
We'd have to hit another.
you know, I think we'd have to have, we almost have to have two meetings, we'd have to approve the final application before you submit it to.
I think the idea is that if we tell them the language to put in it, like what we are looking for, then.
Yeah, I guess that's what.
We still don't have any numbers or anything like that at that point, we're just.
Well, I think basically what we'd be doing there, Phil, is we say the 900 units. At that 18 to 20,000, whatever we were kind of discussing, and that's what your application would look like to move forward.
Okay,
So
so
you
you
would scale it back or forth.
So in the application form itself is pretty much, I would assume boilerplate,
Yeah.
because every community is gonna do it the same. The only optional thing in there is the amount that the community's requesting.
Yes.
Mhm.
Because
So,
once it goes on the actual intended use plan, it just says City of Charles City. X, however many dollars you are requesting.
but we wouldn't have a whole lot of opportunity to change the application anyway.
You can amend it. It's just be, once you're in the project, that's when it gets so complicated.
Yeah.
Right, but I mean, as far as changing any of the real wording in the application.
Yeah,
Probably
the
not too
application is
likely.
pretty generic.
Right, yeah,
It's lead service lines. I mean, this isn't
Right.
like we're going to the
Right,
rocket ship.
right.
So.
So that's kind of what my point is, like, not a lot of room to beat this thing up or have Brad look at it and
Right.
change it and all that sort of stuff.
It's
You basically
900.
just want a resolution that says we're gonna request $18 million.
Yeah,
Right.
for,
Yeah.
For lead service,
Lead
lead
service
service
line.
replacement.
And then before you actually go into any kind of design or anything, it would be, I mean, you have another contract for the design portion and you would see the plans, the specs before that actually moves forward. And there's a lot of steps. This is very high level stuff here.
Yeah.
That we're looking at.
I'm glad we're having this conversation and, you know, we're showing that we're, you know, taking it seriously and moving forward with it.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll have probably Brad prepare a resolution to that effect. We can talk about that tomorrow morning at our.
Yep,
meeting.
we
Brad,
can talk about it tomorrow morning.
I will say too, if anybody has questions, you wanna send me, I mean, we can schedule another one to kind of hash out details later. And I think Tyler starts, get him on some of the things, so.
I think we got a good idea with it now, everything, so we're basically asking for 18 million, so. You know, and then to do 900, so, yeah, that, all of the rest of the details of the application, the particulars, we wouldn't need to have those. So I would assume that would be what the resolution would say, just something like that.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
What's up?
Here. Next topic, the warrant system.
All right, this was kind of my ace in the hole. This is the freebie I was holding back. Cash in, but I didn't expect to come with this project before, but. So this is just something to bring up at every conference. I think most states have this one program. It's just a statewide mutual aid program, that allows water, wastewater, systems to contact other utilities, or through the Iowa warrant to request assistance or equipment. There's no charge to this. A few things, Brad looked over the contract, he was good with it. I contacted Assistant Associates, as far as the city's insurance, they were good with everything requested and required. It's a free program. Like I said, the big thing is, we're not required to respond or required to provide anybody, and I guess the same thing, if we request assistance. There's no requirement for any other utility to respond. I just think of, like tornado in Parkersburg or something. I mean, we're not grabbing police officers and trying to show them how to shut water off or run a pump or have street department out the wastewater plant trying to learn the job. We can request assistance from licensed operators who would actually know the process and stuff like that, so.
So that was the one question I had was, so the example in the brochure was Minden, and that was out in, I think, western Iowa. So say an F3 wedge tornado comes through Charles City, like you said, police officers are gonna be dealing with other things, So what do we gain? Who would come to town and what would they do?
So I just know, say Waterloo's on here. I mean, we could request assistance from, say, Waterloo to. Send operators, I mean, maybe some just shutting off curb stops, the houses that have been demolished. We're not teaching civilians how to do it. I mean, send somebody out how to find a curb stop, what is a curb stop, how to shut it off. I mean, wasting time like that, or, I mean, something happened at the water plant, with the tower, something like that. Closing valves, finding valves, reading our maps. I guess that's just off the top of my head.
It's not just people either, it's pumps, if you need extra pumps. Every city I've been in has participated in this, and, that's what I think of as what we've used it before is, you only have so many pumps, and if you need more pumps, you can get some from somebody that isn't getting that didn't get a 10-inch rain the night before. And
This is not that dissimilar to a mutual aid agreement with the fire department.
Correct.
I mean, it's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
You can reach out to other people if you need to.
Audio is out on the Zoom feed. Audio is out on the Zoom feed.